Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spiritual Readiness and the Time of the Shift. In the spirit of alignment with the frequency of the new earth, which is a light, truth, authenticity, and transparency, I want to today have a conversation about polarization, battling, and reconciliation from the divides that separate us from spiritual alignment. It is a vast topic, and the bottom line of the topic is basically living a life in neutrality. And that topic in itself, when I ran a class for my students based out of New York City, every Sunday I have a class from 6 to 8, and I did a series of neutrality that was 3 years long. It took us 3 years to actually reconcile, ongoing every week, to reconcile everybody and have them more or less, it's not a complete mastery, but it's the foundation. We don't realize the degree to which we've been conditioned to see everything in black and white. It's either my side or the opposite side, good, bad, men, women, positive, negative, etc., etc. We are conditioned to actually see everything in a polarized manner, when in fact there exists a lot of gradients that are in between. Moreover, we need to also understand that whatever it is that you're reacting against because you're foaming at the mouth, and the degree to which that you're more emotional about an external event, circumstance, trigger, or injustice that you may have perceived, it's to the degree to which that trigger also exists in some manner inside of you. The world, the outside world, everything that we're experiencing is a mirror. And that mirror is being reflected by the reactions that you have. We are masters of self-deceit. We are lying to ourselves all the time. And this emotional reaction is an opportunity for you to learn. So, given the fact that the world that we're in right now for the past 2 years has been one of increased divisiveness, increased polarization with all across the globe, there are all of these nationalist tendencies that are trying to separate us, the xenophobia, the fears that have been accelerated to the surface. We should look within ourselves. If you're on a spiritual path and you're trying to reconcile, we should look within ourselves to find where the root cause of all of that exists. And I have to say that given the fact that I'll give you an example, when Trump talked about made these shithole comments about Haitian and African countries, that touched me personally. At first, I was like, I'm not going to allow myself to be triggered. Don't worry about it. Just go to sleep. So I went to sleep. The next morning when I woke up, I could not get up. It took me 2.5 hours to get out of bed. I felt absolutely horrendous. When I went into my dantian and did my spiritual practice in that day, I realized that I still had a trigger. Whatever comment that he made triggered something deep that was deeply buried inside of me. And I did a different video about this already. I'm not going to get into the copious detail. The long and the short is that buried inside of me was a reaction against this type of comment coming from a former colony as Haiti, where white men and white culture was subjugating us. I personally was overcompensating by trying to be, you can either prove them that you are the worst, and you go to the lowest common denominator, or you do the exact opposite, which is what I did. I went to an Ivy League school, I got double degrees. I did everything the exact opposite so that I could constantly be proving that I was equal. Instead of me just being myself and being me, I was reacting from that standpoint. So I discovered a program within my subconscious mind that was deeply rooted. And as a matter of fact, I think Trump for that comment, because had he not made it, that would have not been visible to me, right? This is what I mean about reconciliation, is that you realize whatever is triggering you has roots inside of you. And if you can spend the time to go deep within yourself, you will begin to discover where the root is and what you can do now to reconcile, to make sure that you're no longer triggered about this. Like if I were to get these double degrees because of my own desire to do this, that would be great. But if I'm doing it to prove to some sort of white standard that I'm equal, then there's a problem. See what I'm saying? So we don't realize to the degree to which that we are living in a constant state of black or white, of constantly acting and reacting, of constantly battling as if we were playing ping pong. Now, energetically in the light community, this is far more common because light workers are not realizing the degree to which they are that toxic, because it doesn't matter to a level what part of the pendulum swing that you hold, whether you hold the light or the dark. Zealotry and blind obedience to either side are just as toxic and as evil, because the pendulum will keep swinging back and forth, and never will you be able to achieve ultimately peace and reconciliation. What am I saying? In other words, what I'm really saying is that there will never be a time where either the light nor the dark will overwhelm each other. They will keep changing position. The pendulum will keep swinging. There exists, however, and this is very difficult for light workers to think they're warrior for the light and I'm going to combat, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I am not saying that you should not aim for a betterment of the world. And we all should be doing this. But if you're coming from a standpoint of trying to annihilate and completely destroy everything that stands against you, like if you're trying to destroy all of the Trump supporters or destroy all of the nationalist supporters and trying to destroy them and eliminate them together, or yell or scream at them and try to convince them, you're never going to reach reconciliation. This is not the way you heal. This is not the way you repair. Okay? You have to demonstrate to them the change that exists within you. Without yelling, without screaming. You have to demonstrate to them that what you're doing, don't judge them, what you're doing to yourself it's something else. So in nature, at an atomic level, you do have electrons that are negatively charged, protons that are positively charged, but you also have neutrons that are zero charge. Neutrality does exist in nature, but it is not a choice that's often sought. So what I'm suggesting is that true ascendance is a path of neutrality. So in order for us to move into this that path of neutrality, you have to literally begin to recondition your mind. And I'm going to give you some general areas you should be focusing on. First, you have to reconcile and become at peace and become neutral to all people in your life. I actually went through an exercise where, to my earliest memory in my childhood, I remember looking at my mom when I was 3 years old. I basically reconcile with her. And the way I reconcile is that I basically did the whole Ho'oponopono prayer from the Kahunas of Hawaii. Divine Creator, Mother, Father, and Son is one. If me or my ancestors had hurt you or your ancestors from the beginning of creation until now, by thoughts, by deeds, by words, by action, and by inactions, please forgive me. I love you unconditionally, and I let go. Now, the short version of this that I repeat like a rosary all the time: please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Okay? And as I do this, I would repeat it over and over again, just thinking about the image, and then I remember my brother, my sisters, then I remember my cousins, and I remember and I went on the nanny, And that this, and I did this for everyone that I could remember, to ask them for forgiveness for any sin that I may, or any offense that I may have committed toward them in this lifetime or in past lives that I don't remember, since the beginning of creation, right? Additionally, you have to begin to do the same thing to institutions around the world that you may have had toxic connection to, whether it is the church, whether it is a bank, whether it is your former office, whether it is, and so on and so forth. And then you do the same thing to nation, to people, to races. Okay, gender, particularly when you're toxic from one gender to another. And you keep doing this. As you do this, as you're doing this, you become lighter and lighter and lighter, right? Then the part that's the most complicated is for us to begin to do internal reconciliation. We have to, all of us in the light community, begin to or believing that we all are always only light, which is completely untrue. Given the fact that the universe is 900 billion years old, at some point you veer off the main road. You went into the margin. I know, and I've said this before, that my halo was not on straight. I've gone off and I've done other things. And because I did, I've explored, and this is the way you learn, is that you go off, you wander. You become like an explorer. And whatever mistakes that were made, you have to begin to forgive yourself for those mistakes. You have to acknowledge it's your mistake. You have to acknowledge your own internal darkness. And then you have to now begin to forgive yourself for them. And what this does is that it begins to open your heart to become much more compassionate toward the failings of others, when you realize that that same feeling exists within yourself. Way too many times have I heard light workers that are saying, I'm going to go into this place or this location, and I'm going to do light work and grid it in, and I'm going to push the darkness out, and I'm going to do this. The energy is so intense, and I'm going to do all of. You're battling. You're never going to win. Because as you push the energy out, more energy will come to you. And there's a reason, there are multiple reasons for not doing this, particularly when you're dealing with energy and consciousness, or let's say principalities or demons and so on and so forth. This is the worst thing in the world that you could do. Because to be perfectly honest, these forces, these dark principles, the details of your personal life is insignificant to them. But if you participate in any kind of ritual that try to exorcise them and push them out, they have their eyes fixed on you. And their immortal being and their rancor and their rage is deep. And as they have their eyes fixed on you, even if you're protected by all kinds of shields and all kinds of energies, if they cannot get you, they will get what you love the most. And that could be your children, it could be your job, it could be anything in your life that you love the most. Somehow they will get to you. Equally important is to also realize that it is not the children of the light that can become battle fatigue and can desire to go into neutrality. I've had multiple experiences, some of which I shared in my book, A Primer for Ascension, that I have an experience where actually somebody that was actually an incarnation of a fallen angel came to me, and I was terrified when I asked my guide. My guide started laughing and said to me, what did you think that neutrality was? That only the light was going to come to you? This guy is not just a servant of this energy. He is actually the incarnated aspect of it, who is battle fatigued and is seeking neutrality. And I asked them, what do I do? And they said to me, love him unconditionally. and teaching everything. Two things will happen. He will either entrain into this vibration, or the energy will become too intense for him and he will walk away. But even if he did, the seed will be planted and it will grow in its own timing, which is exactly what I did. So there is a vastness of understanding and profound external and internal healing that is that can be achieved in accepting and embracing a path of neutrality. Now, in a YouTube format, I can't spend the time that's necessary to really educate you in all the detail, but these were just a few highlights. Now, before I end, I want to do a small prayer. Surrounded by chaos and fear, Lord, give me the clarity to find you. Disconnect me to the external narrative and details that are poisoning my mind. Give me the wisdom to understand that outside event are a reflection of unresolved internal conflicts. Help me focus at the root cause of my disempowerment. I surrender my fears and vulnerabilities unto you, for you are the benefactor, the giver, and the redeemer. Bless me with your divine grace, that I may receive your miraculous and instantaneous repair. Help me remember the truth. I am not alone. Amen. Now, I post a video once a week on topics related to enlightenment, spirituality, and ascension. Leave your comments, like the video, subscribe, and leave comments. Let me know what you're thinking. If you have any question or any query, please drop me a line. It would be my honor to respond to you. Thank you, everyone. Deep, deep love to all of you, and wishing you all the best, and have a phenomenal day. Thanks.